VPT Analysis of 11 Months Post-Stroke Recovery Energy and Trajectory Evolution Part 1, number 1671, VPT 130, the 5th of June 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, Category Stroke. Preface for readers: eat more protein and fresh vegetables. Eat less red meat and processed food. Reduce portions if overweight. Eating a little less will not hurt you. Overeating for yours will. Exercise daily. Walk at least 7,000 to 8,000 steps. Drink 85 to 100 oz to 0.5 to 3.0 liters of water daily. Sleep 6 to 7 hours each night. Manage stress. Avoid draining people and unnecessary conflicts. Put your health first. Wealth, fame, and power mean little without health and life. Preface: since my hemorrhagic stroke on June 21, 2025, it has been approximately 350 days. During this period, I have written approximately 400 papers, including more than 300 stroke-related articles that I call my notes off stroke recovery journey. Have noticed that understanding of my stroke event and its recovery process has become progressively deeper and broad as I have collected more data and gained additional insights. The focal point of this particular note is the seasonal variation of my biomarker data, which is only a secondary factor. Of course, the primary reason for the improvement in my TSI-3B stroke risk index has been my consistent daily efforts to control both glucose and SBP through a strict diet, moderate walking exercise, breathing exercises, sufficient sleep with naps, and especially emotional stress avoidance. Pulse pressure PP is primarily an indicator of vascular aging and is much less influenced by lifestyle interventions. Therefore, PP behaves differently from daily glucose and SBP. Data construction and interpretation. The purpose of this analysis is not to examine daily fluctuations, but to understand the long-term physiological trajectory of stroke recovery. Therefore, I intentionally used monthly values derived from 90-day moving average data rather than my raw daily measured data. Initially, I considered using the complete 90-day moving average datas. Although those data reduce much of the day-to-day noise, they still contain visible oscillations that tended to obscure the broader trend. Since the objective of this study is to evaluate system behavior through time, I chose to calculate monthly averages from the 90-day moving averages. This double-layered smoothing allows the underlying trajectory to emerge more clearly. In addition, my viscoplastic medicine theory VMT prefers using between 6 and 12 time periods in order to provide more presentable graphical displays. Therefore, I selected monthly average data derived from the 90-day moving averages. These double-layered average data sets provide a clearer view of the movement and direction of my biomarkers and TSI values over 11 months period from August 2025 through June 2026. In engineering terms, this approach separates the signal from the noise. The goal is not to analyze individual fluctuations, but to observe the direction of movement of my entire physiological system. This is similar to observing the tide rather than individual waves, or the overall river flow rather than local turbulence. This fluid mechanics interpretation solves my stroke risk progression quite effectively and provide a vivid picture for observation of my medical phenomena. The resulting curves reveal several distinct phases during the first 11 months following my Stanford Hospital discharging day of June 28, 2025 after my pontine hemorrhagic stroke on June 21, 2025. In July 2025, immediately after my hospital discharge, I did not have the physical and mental energy to collect detailed daily biomarker data. Therefore, the dataset used in this analysis starts on August 1, 2025. The first phase extends from August through October 2025, corresponding to the fall season in Northern California. During this period, my systolic blood pressure SBP remained relatively elevated, which is consistent with the well-known seasonal tendency for blood pressure to increase during colder weather. TSI-3B declined during this period as my physiological system gradually stabilized after the acute stroke event. The second phase extends from approximately November 2025 through February 2026, corresponding to winter season in Northern California. During this period, glucose levels gradually increased by approximately 10% while TSI-3B also rose, based on my observations. This approximately 10% of glucose elevation is unlikely to represent worsening metabolic control. Instead, it may reflect increased energy demand associated with ongoing neuroplasticity, neural repair, and brain adaptation during stroke recovery. Glucose to organs is analogous to gasoline for a car. The recovering brain consumes substantial energy, and glucose serves as its primary fuel source. The third phase extends from March through June 2026, covering spring and early summer in Hawaii. During this period, my systolic blood pressure gradually declined as temperatures became warmer. TSI-3b also moved downward toward a more stable range approximately 8 to 10 months after my stroke. This behavior is consistent with the seasonal reduction in blood pressure commonly observed during warmer months. Pulse pressure PP behaved differently from both SBP and glucose. The PP curve did not exhibit a strong seasonal pattern and is generally more difficult for patients to influence directly. Instead, PP appeared to change more gradually over the annual cycle, likely reflecting slower changes in arterial stiffness, vascular elasticity, and vascular aging. These characteristics evolve over much longer time scales and are less sensitive to short-term seasonal effects. The overall trend of PP is generally toward gradual deterioration with aging, and there is relatively little a patient can do to reverse this process. Nevertheless, PP remains an important biomarker for stroke risk at foundational level. Therefore, the observed trajectory appears to be influenced by two separate processes. The first is the seasonal variation of blood pressure, particularly SBP. The second is the prolonged neuroplastic recovery process of neuroscience following stroke event, which may contribute to the gradual elevation of glucose levels. And like conventional additive models, the TSI-3b trajectory is governed by the multiplicative interaction among glucose, pulse pressure, and systolic blood pressure. This research methodology is consistent with the philosophy of viscoplastic medicine theory (VMT), which focuses on system evolution rather than isolated measurements, instead of relying on separate snapshots, combined with clinicians' imagination or estimates of what may have occurred between those snapshots. My objective is to observe the entire long-term movie without guesswork. My contribution is therefore limited to describing and illustrating the movie, a longitudinal dataset, that I have observed. This monthly 90-day moving average dataset provides a clearer view of the physiological pathway through which the system moves from post-stroke instability toward a new state of equilibrium. This is part 1.